right, good morning, everyone. So, guys, how is everyone? How is everyone? Listen, first of all, I wanted you guys to know that I was talking to a screen and I hadn't gone live yet. And I'm like, what's going on? So we're here, day three. Day three. We are starting off on time in my book. How about that? Starting off on time. How's everyone? How did everyone sleep? I hope everyone got a lot of rest. Yesterday for me was so powerful and such an amazing experience to hear from all the panelists yesterday. Everyone just, my gosh, what was your favorite panel? Because I definitely know what my favorite panel was. But I loved each and every one of the panels. They were awesome. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Derek. Good morning, Stephanie. Good morning, Daria, my sister. Good morning. So I'm just like, I'm so happy to have like all of you guys and just all of this love coming in. Thank you so much. I wanted today to be the keynote day. Today, the last day, okay, let me back up. The first day was about laying the foundation and really setting your intentions for the summit. The last day for me is always about looking towards the future and looking ahead because as visionaries, as Black creatives, we are visionaries and we should always be looking towards the future and finding out like where do we want to go, what seeds do we want to plant, and what do we want to harvest. So that is why I called upon my friend, Miss Ebonee Davis, to come in the house. And like I said, before when I was talking to the camera and y'all couldn't hear me, if you guys don't know Ebonee Davis, then I do not know what to tell y'all. Because Ebonee is everything, literally everything. I can't wait for you guys to hear her story and just to hear what she has to say because Ebonee has something to say and y'all better listen, pull your ears up close to whatever y'all, the TV, the computer, whatever y'all want and listen and make sure that y'all know that Ebonee is about to bring it. Good morning, Monique, good morning. So listen, in about 1 minute, we're gonna come back with Miss Ebonee Davis. See you guys in a second. All right, everyone. So I am back right now, and I am about to bring in the room Miss Ebonee Davis. Like Ebonee, I can't wait for you guys to talk with Ebonee, get inspired, because I know you guys gonna leave with a word. So here we go. Hello, Ebonee's in the house. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Oh my gosh. Like, this is like everything. Really, it is. I really appreciate you doing this. And I'm just so happy that you are able to step in the room and like just talk to everyone and just really give words or you inspire so many. You really do. And I'm just like, so first of all, let me tell you guys, and if everyone, if you're okay with this, I'm gonna just give a little backstory of for us. Uh, Miss Ebonee, I've known since forever. Well, not forever. Not as long as she's been alive, but for since a long time while you've been modeling. So I've worked with Ebonee. She's always been so like outspoken. Everything I love it. But once your career has really basically like your trajectory changed, and I want to know first what happened to make you write the infamous open letter And then also, like, how did you get to that point? So, Ebony, first, I want to start by saying, could you please introduce yourself and give a little spiel?
Yeah. My name is Ebonee Davis. I'm a model. Some people consider me an activist. I don't necessarily call myself an activist. I'm just someone who believes in the radical, transformative power of self love. And
Yeah.
self love has really been the catalyst on my journey. It's been the thing that has carried me. It's been the thing that has taken my career from what it was and made it grow exponentially.
Hmm.
And it's really the message that I want to share, the message I'm here to share, particularly as Black people. I feel like we have this opportunity to love ourselves radically and in a way
Mm.
that will change the trajectory of, and change how we view ourselves, change how we participate in this American system. So I'm really here to just continue to spread that message. I've done so in the industry for the last 4 years, I'd say heavily since like 2016. And
Mm.
I just want to take it and make it bigger than fashion, because it's really a global message that I feel like all Black people need to hear.
I love that. I love that. So what made you start? Because when I first met you, I would say it was towards I'm not sure if it was the beginning of your career, like kind of in that kind of a space. But afterwards, that's when you did the quote unquote radical move of cutting your hair and just like present yourself as you are. As opposed to, as we know in the modeling industry, they want the weaves, they want straight hair. What inspired you to say enough is enough?
I started to notice this community on Instagram in like late 2015, early 2016, this natural hair community. And it was the first time, honestly, that I had seen representation for
Mm,
so many different hair types. And I, for the first time, was like, oh my gosh, like my hair is nice. Like there's products for my hair, there's different ways that I can style my hair. And to be, 24 at that time, and for the first time to actually see myself and to be like, oh my gosh, like my hair in its natural state is like good enough, was kind of a revelation for me. And so I decided to go natural end of 2015, beginning of 2016. And, it wasn't like, it's not like you wake up one day with your afro and you feel
mhm.
like this Nubian princess. You know what I mean? Like you
Yes.
wake up and you're still struggling because you still have this colonial mindset that's telling you that you're not good enough. And so you start to realize that, it's deeper than the physical things, it's deeper than this physical transformation. There actually has to be a psychological transformation that you undergo before you can really start to love and accept yourself. So
Hmm.
I feel I have been on that journey of psychological transformation for the last 4 years. And it really is,
Wow.
as I mentioned before, rooted in self love, because you really have to ask yourself, um, how would I behave if I love myself? What choices would I
Mhm.
make if I love myself? What does it look like to love
Mm.
myself?
Mm.
And then you start to realize all the ways that you rejected yourself based on
Wow.
someone else's idea of who you should be. And I feel like
Mhm.
it's the self rejection
Mhm.
that Black Americans have, or just Black people globally have. It's that self rejection that keeps us from really, really, truly being in our power. Because when I did eventually begin to love myself and accept myself and live in alignment with my self love, my life changed drastically.
Mm.
I started to see doors open up that had previously been locked and closed. And they weren't opening up because anyone was handing me an opportunity or anything like that. They're opening up because I'm in alignment with my divine self. And opportunities are just presenting themselves that wouldn't have
Mhm.
presented themselves otherwise had I not gotten into alignment and recognized my power and recognized that, you know, as Black people, we have the power to generate this reality that we experience. And
Mm.
so much of that is based on how we feel about ourselves. When we don't feel like we're worthy, how are we supposed to get the opportunities that we want? When we don't
Wow.
feel like we're deserving, how are we supposed to get the opportunities that we want? When we don't
Mhm.
feel like we're good enough, we can sit back and say, I want this and I want that. but your frequency, the energy that you're emitting, the thoughts that you're emitting are not in alignment with your desires. And so how do you obtain them when you're not in alignment with them?
Wow.
So
Yes.
that's been my journey over the last 4 years.
So my next question is, how did you? I always like to tell everyone, how did you eat that spinach, get them Popeye arms, and just say, "This is who I am, and this
Yeah.
I'm not compromising that for anyone." When was it like? Can you go back to when you first said, "Enough is enough. This is how it is, or it's not going to be"? So yeah.
I mean, it was really difficult. I was met with a lot of resistance at first. I remember the first time I walked into my agency after I went natural, and their first comment was to me was, "This rolled out of bed hair isn't gonna work." And as any Black girl or Black boy knows, like, you don't just wake up in the morning and your hair is rolled out of bed and done. Like, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of maintenance, it takes a lot of love. So immediately met with insults, like right off the bat, for my hair, and then having to, like I said, deal with the colonial mindset. So also dealing with new trauma and new insults and things like that, and trying to get comfortable with myself and get comfortable with this new look, and then that triggering so much awakening and triggering so much realization about how deeply I've been programmed and how much I've been brainwashed to believe that I'm not good enough, and how much I've been brainwashed to not accept myself. And so it was really a process of coming into that, Popeye strength. It wasn't just like an overnight thing, but definitely I know a catalyst for that was when Alton Sterling and Philando Castile were murdered by police just days apart. And I remember that happening because it happened. Alton Sterling was murdered first, and then Philando Castile was murdered on the day that my Calvin Klein campaign came out.
Wow.
My Calvin Klein campaign came out summer 2016, and that was the first time that I had seen myself with my natural hair. After I went into my agency and they said all those derogatory things about me, I actually ended up booking the biggest campaign of my life, which was the Calvin Klein campaign, just weeks later. That I shot it in March 2016, and it came out summer 2016. And so it was like this big hug from God in this pat on the back, and this big affirmation that was like, people might be resistant to these changes that I'm guiding you to make, to these changes that your spirit is guiding you to make, but just know that you're aligned, know that you're right on the right path. Like, here is this huge reward for being true to yourself, despite the critics, despite the people who are telling you that you're not good enough. So when that happened, and I saw myself on the Calvin Klein campaign, and it came out the day Philando Castile was murdered, something clicked inside of me that was just like, wow, it's the same lack of value for Black lives that has caused me to suppress myself for 24 years, which is also the reason why Black people are being murdered in the street. There's a correlation here, and it made me realize that there's just such a responsibility on behalf of those who create media to redefine these narratives, reimagine Blackness, revise what it looks like to be Black. We continue to uphold and perpetuate these standards of beauty and these standards of Blackness that are really rooted in white supremacy and rooted in a colonial mindset. And it has, caused just tremendous damage. And we have so much power as creators of media to redefine what it means to be Black and just influence the landscape of our society. And so I wrote the open letter that you mentioned earlier to the fashion industry, Time for Change. And I basically just drew that correlation, explained why it's so important that we do make change and what we can do to be catalysts for change, and to just, ultimately rewrite the way that we experience ourselves and the way that we participate in this system through the media.
I love. Okay, so we all know, we've all heard the term generational trauma, and that is part of the reason why I wanted to start the All Black Everything Summit, because it was just like, I'm over this generational trauma. I'm done. Like, but for me, I'm older, and it took me this long to get to that point. For you, it was just like, just to see, and just to from afar be like, go ahead. I'm just so super happy that you, at the age that you were at, you were done, and that encouraged older people to be like, just so you know, I just want you to know, you were intergenerational encouragement, because everyone was like, wow, like this is possible. And like you said, you can still be successful and still living your truth. Now, I know you went on to do like TED Talk. How did like that? Wow, like TED
Yeah.
Talk. How was that experience?
So yeah, that was a great experience that came about because the letter that I wrote went pretty viral.
Mhm.
And the founder of the event saw it on Twitter and retweeted it. And I was like, I just like quoted the tweet. It was like, can I get a TED Talk? Like, it was super playful. I didn't even take it seriously. But he responded to me and was like, yeah, I think you have a great voice. And I think this topic is super important. So I went on to write the TED Talk, and I gave it early 2017, like January 2017. And I have to be honest and say that it didn't do in the industry what I wish it did. Like um, I have, I think I influence a lot of Black people. I influence
Mhm.
people who are willing to listen,
Yes.
but the industry is still very superficial. And even when it comes to activism and,
Mhm.
deciding who they highlight, there's still this level of superficiality. And I feel
Yes.
like my TED Talk was very, very honest.
Mhm.
And I'm a very, very honest person. And so I feel like there could have been more response on behalf of the gatekeepers in the industry, because now it's like, here we are in 2020 and the cycle repeats itself.
Mhm.
George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, here we are again, Alton Sterling and Philando Castile, and now there's this sort of like desperation and scrambling on behalf of the industry to like get in alignment and figure out what we can do, because we're all being affected by this thing now, because coronavirus and this president that we have, and there's just this like sort of desperation
Mhm.
almost. But it's like I wish that was there years ago. That there's been
Mhm.
so many people speaking up for so long, and the industry has kind of like played this game of like, oh, we can kind of highlight people but not really, but who's also popular, things like that, versus being like, yo, we actually have to make a change, like this is serious. And I'm glad now that I guess there's a level of seriousness and willingness to change on behalf of the industry. But it was discouraging kind of at the time to go and do this thing that I was very afraid to do. Like, honestly, I was afraid to give this TED Talk because,
Mhm.
again, it was like I had this programming from my previous agency that was just like, you're going to lose all of your clients that you already
Mhm.
established, and no new clients are going to want to work with you, and this is super radical, and all this other stuff that I just had to like put to the side so that I could do it. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, I reposted my TED Talk recently
Uh-huh.
during the riots this summer, and it got such a huge response. So yeah, I mean, also some things just take time to
Yes.
be potent because
Mhm.
people aren't there yet. You have to give
Yeah.
people time to get
Mhm.
there. So I can't be like, I can't be mad about it or be upset about it. It's just like, okay, finally, like, okay, let's get
Mhm.
to it, guys. I've been saying this for a while. Like, let's go, let's go.
Yeah. So Itasha Jordan actually made a similar point yesterday, because she said, in terms of like, if you put a message out before everything happened this past year, it wasn't being received. But now you reintroduce your TED Talk, and now the ears are open, or more open to it. And of course,
Yeah,
everyone's not there yet, but the ears have now shifted a little bit more to be like, okay, Okay, we are trying to listen. At least
Right.
we hope so.
Yeah.
So I really want to bring you in because you're a visionary. You know, you see, I don't, should we describe it as a black utopia or just just us about loving ourselves? How do you see, or how can we all come in, go into the future with a goal of just alignment, of self-love, of, you know, like just go out as creatives and create the world we want to see?
Right. I think when people first sort of hear my message of self love, they have this romantic idea of what that's going to look like. And I have to just be honest and say, like, the last 4 years for me have been so brutal. Having to constantly like kill versions of myself that are no longer in alignment, having to be honest with myself about choices that I've made and things that I've participated in, situations that I've perpetuated through my own behavior that have been harmful to myself and that have taken me out of alignment. Like, that level of honesty, um, it's painful. It's
Mhm,
painful. And I think as Black people, um, it's a hard message to convey
mhm,
because, you know, there are systems of oppression that are very present. There are threats to our, physical self that are very present. There are threats to our emotional self that are very present.
mhm.
But we are also threats to ourselves. And
Woo,
we have to realize that if we want to get free, because we can continue to talk about all of the ways that we're being oppressed by white people, but what about the ways that we oppress ourselves?
oh,
What
you
about the
know it.
behaviors that we're engaging in that take us out of alignment with who we could be? Granted, we have taken on those behaviors as a side effect of capitalism and
Mhm,
white supremacy and oppression, but that doesn't take away the responsibility that we have to get back into alignment and to love ourselves radically in a way that transforms how we move through this world, because that's how we're going to get free. Our freedom isn't going to come from white people. They're never going to stop stepping on us. You know what
yeah,
I mean? They're
yeah.
never going to hand us our freedom. They're never going to stop trying to oppress us, because there is money in our oppression, and greed is the foundation of this society. So our freedom isn't going to come from any external source. It's going to come from within. And I know that that message can be hard because, again, like, we want to blame some external source
Mhm,
for the way that we live, but it really has to start from us. So again, like, this journey of self-love hasn't been easy. It hasn't been bubble baths and roses and prayer time, you know what I mean? Only, like, that's part of it, but the
mhm,
hardest part is just the honesty, the self-acceptance, the forgiveness, the realizing that my parents are human too, and that they're experiencing their own trauma, and I have to forgive them if I want to be who I desire to be in this world. And
mhm,
really just taking accountability. I've been in messed up relationships and realizing the ways that I've participated in those relationships, and realizing that my trauma is the reason why I attracted certain partners, and not blaming them, but seeing where they were mirrors of me, and seeing
mhm,
where they were trying to illuminate the things inside of me that needed to be
mhm.
healed. So it's really just a very, very high level of accountability that a lot of people are not ready for. And so, in order to get on this journey of self love, you have to be ready to have that level of accountability and honesty with yourself. Again, it's not easy. Like, I can't stress that enough. It's
Yeah.
not a cute journey, but it's so worth it, because this freedom that I've experienced now, this power that I'm in with myself, and I'm not talking about the false construct of power that runs the society. I'm not talking about
Woo.
monetary power. I'm not talking about ruling over others. I'm talking about my autonomy. I'm talking about my sovereignty. I'm talking about knowing how
Wow.
powerful I am, and that I construct my reality, and that these outside forces can't touch me, because I have made decisions that have put me in alignment with my divine power. So,
Woo. First of all, like my friend Karen says, I want to go get my tambourine. Just shake it right now. Just shake it all over the place. Cause like, let me tell you, you just came with a word, and I so appreciate the honesty. I so appreciate, because at the end of the day, it is up to us. We're not going to. Nobody is going to give it to us,
I
and
was
we
coming
should.
to say
And
that.
we need to deal in truth, and we need to deal with the fact that if we want to create, we have to create it. We
Yes.
have to. And I keep telling everyone, you better go. You better go Issa Rae it, because
Right. Yeah.
like I tell everyone, I use her name as a verb now. I Issa Rae it. Like, let's Issa Rae it seriously,
Yes.
like and bring it into existence. So, Ebony, what would you tell a younger Black kid right now? Like, I know everyone always wants to say, what would you tell your younger self? I know that is a question that a lot of people say, but I do want to know, like, how could someone right now, like 4, 5, 6, 7, because we get messages throughout our years. I think that, like you said, I think the word you used was programming. We are programmed to think that we can't achieve certain things. How can we not transfer that to younger people? Or also, how can we lift them up? How can we make sure that they are programmed in a way that they can achieve anything that they want?
I think it's all just about letting them know early that they have the pen and they are in a position to write their own narrative. Realizing that, each one of us is the author of our lives. Each one of us is the director of our lives. Each one of us is the creator of our lives. We have we're here to discuss art and creating art, but think of your life as an art piece and realize that you are the artist. And
Wow.
so we live our lives according to someone else's we're in someone else's novel, or we're in someone else's painting, we're in someone else's story. We have to take ourselves out of their story and get into our story and realize that we can write our story. So for me, it's just about letting them know at a young age that you are the creator of your life, and the art that you create is a reflection of the life that you create for yourself. So
Hmm. Wow, that yes. Listen, everyone, if you guys haven't already done this, please share this out, because we need everyone to come in here and hear this message. Seriously, I would love. Because this is so powerful, and it's so needed, and it's so. What is and if you want to share, what is next for you?
what's next? Well, I'll share with y'all that I recently signed with CAA.
Yay!
So yes,
Woohoo!
I'm still modeling, but I'm also just expanding into so many different areas of my creativity, which I feel is a product of this self-love journey that I've been on, just and also a product of sitting and being still in quarantine, and tapping into so many of the parts of myself that had sort of gotten lost in the shuffle over the years, with my focus mainly being on fashion. Kind of realizing, like, as a child I had all of these interests and all of these skills, and I felt like I could do this and I felt like I could do that. And then you kind of grow into an adult and you have this idea that you can only do one thing and focus on one thing,
Mhm.
or one thing just takes all of your energy, so that you're not able to focus on multiple disciplines at once. And being still and being in quarantine has allowed me to tap back into so many of those things that I loved doing as a child, and realizing, like, all of these things can be used to spread the message. Modeling has always sort of been a stepping stone in my mind, but I didn't necessarily know where I was stepping, and now I have such a clear idea of what I'm moving to. So that's super exciting. So yeah, with CAA, I just plan to take everything to the next level. I want to continue to expand and just be this example of what it looks like when you're in alignment with yourself, which is really just an example of, like, infinite ability, like infinite creative power. Again, and I say power, I feel like I have to be specific, because the connotations associated with power are
Mhm.
just like negative in my mind, like ruling over other people. But it's really my self power, and
Mhm.
really just being a vessel and a conduit to express the divine through. So
I
yeah.
love that. What is some of so as we know, after everything happened with George Floyd, we saw a lot of companies start to pivot and start to try to include messaging directed towards us, or just include us in the. How do you feel about that? And then also, how can they be more genuine, or do you feel like what can we say to them to bring them in and say? Because I think one of the things is that we tend to sometimes be like, no, you're doing that wrong. No, you're doing like, and it scares people off sometimes because it is, So I wanted to know what are your thoughts on that, and then also how can we, or is it possible to bring everyone together and have a messaging that goes out?
You know, when I first started speaking out, I felt like the industry, I felt like I needed a response from the industry. I
Hmm.
felt like I needed the industry to take action. I felt like I needed the industry to create opportunities for Black visibility. And I don't necessarily feel that way anymore. Like, I think it's cool that these, brands want to be more inclusive. I think the willingness is great, but that's not the goal anymore. Like,
Yes.
I don't really,
Mm.
my energy isn't focused on trying to get them to give us a seat at the table anymore. It's really about us building our own table. And I know that's
Yes.
cliche, but I think that's where the focus has to be for Black people. Again, it's not about stop oppressing me. It's like, how do I take my power and focus on the things that I can control, so that I can literally transcend this situation.
Mm.
And so I think the representation is great because, as a I remember myself as a little Black girl, and seeing images that reflected me was very important for my self-esteem and for my sense of self. And so I think that's great. And I don't even need it to be genuine. Like, I think the visibility is so important. I think the optics of it are so important. I'm not too concerned with the brand ethics as much
Mm.
as you know just realizing, like, these brands aren't going to last if they're not built on something sustainable anyway. And so
Mhm.
the optics are there, we see ourselves reflected, and then we take that and we go focus on how we can build ourselves up outside of asking for opportunities from these brands or from these people. Like, it's just not my focus anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I just really don't think um I'm not begging to be included. Like, I really, I don't care about being included. I care about us building our own things,
Mhm.
because in our own things the inclusion is inherent. Like, as Black women, we are automatically inclusive. It's like, why isn't that, Rihanna just established her Fenty Savage
Yeah.
Fenty, her lingerie line, and it's like immediately she comes out of the gate inclusive, different body types, just everything. Like, she doesn't exclude anyone, and
Yeah.
automatically just like knocks Victoria's Secret out the picture. Like, they
Mhm.
didn't have a show this year, she did.
Yeah.
So sustainability and ethics,
I love
these brands aren't going to last if they don't get it together behind the
that is
scenes. And
so
I'm
true.
not concerned with that. That's not where I'm going to put my energy.
I love that. I love that. You mentioned building your table. Could you give a couple of thoughts on that, and also how someone can do that? Because sometimes, we some people don't know how to start from square one, from square A. How do they build their table?
It starts with self. Like, it definitely starts with what I was talking about earlier, that self-love. And it starts with truth. That has to be the foundation of your table. What would you tell someone to keep them from going through what you went through? What would you create for your younger self? What did you wish that you had that you didn't have when you were younger? What is something you wish somebody would have told you that you were younger that you didn't find out till you were an adult? Those are the type of questions that we have to start asking ourselves, and then start building from there. That was really like the foundation of this whole journey for me. It was just like, what can I be that I haven't seen yet? That I would love to see. And be your own hero. Be the reflection that you would like to see. Be that thing that you want to see reflected back at you. Um, but yeah, I think once you begin that journey of self-love, you figure out what it is that you need to do. You figure out how to be of service, and you start getting in tune with your intuition, and start getting this divine guidance and these downloads that direct you and tell you exactly what you need to do, in order to fulfill your purpose and be a catalyst for change.
I love that. Oh my, like, well, first of all, are you, I don't know where you are, but this is like, what, 11:38 in the morning on the East Coast. And let me
It's
tell you,
8:30. I woke
oh,
up
okay. So
early.
8:30 in the morning, you are dropping this so early in the morning. And I'm like, what? Like, you woke up like, I got a word. I have a word today. I'm going to tell y'all all my words, everything. So I appreciate that. I want to go more into abundance because
Mm.
I know, myself included, sometimes I struggle with abundance. Like, um, I struggle with first getting abundance, like,
Mhm.
or being open to abundance, and
Yeah.
struggle with whether or not I am doing a disservice by wanting abundance. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the days of being broke and martyrdom and sacrificing ourselves for the cause are over. I think we have to realize that it actually is a form of activism to live in abundance. That is our birthright as Black people.
Hmm.
And so we actually uphold and perpetuate white supremacy, capitalism, and oppression by martyring ourselves and
Mm.
by thinking that by living humbly, we are doing a service to others. We are doing a disservice to ourselves and others by assuming that we should live humbly as a way to create change. That doesn't do anything for anyone. Um, I believe that in this moment, we have the opportunity to care for ourselves in a way that we have not been cared for in the past, in a way that we have been taught is, excessive and overindulgent. When
Hmm.
we care for our bodies, it puts us in a position to care for others. When we care for our mental health, it puts us in a position to care for others. And so it's extremely important that we recognize that living in abundance is not bad. It's not something to feel bad over. And this comes to, this is a worthiness programming. This is the brainwashing around worthiness.
Worthiness.
What do we feel like we are not worthy of, or what do we feel like we are worthy of? And so the only reason why we feel like we can't live in abundance is because we've been programmed to feel like we are not worthy of that
Mm.
abundance.
Mm.
And so we have to revise the way that we think about things and the way that we participate in this system, because when we continue to perpetuate this belief that living humbly is to our benefit, then we continue to uphold uh, capitalism. We continue to uphold our own oppression. And I'll go ahead and share like a little anecdote just about abundance and programming. Like, I used to get really bad anxiety about going and checking the mail because, growing up, I would see my dad just check not either pass up the mailbox, drive right past it on the way home. We lived in a little cul-de-sac, and so the mailbox sat at the entrance of the cul-de-sac, and I used to either see him pass it right up or get the mail and put it in a pile on the kitchen counter and let it sit there unopened. And I knew it was because he didn't have the money to pay for whatever bills were coming his way. And I could see that stress like deteriorating him and eating away at him. And so even as an adult, when I had the money sitting in the bank to pay my bills, I would still get anxiety about going and opening the mailbox and checking those bills and paying those bills because of my programming, because of the things that I experienced as a kid. But what you have to realize is when you have those feelings and that relationship with money, you actually create the experiences that you're afraid of.
Woo. Let me back up. Go ahead.
You know,
Okay,
you
go ahead.
actually create the experiences that are giving you anxiety. When you take action out of fear, you are creating the narrative. You're going to play out the narrative that you are afraid of. And
Mm,
so you have to really revise the way that you think, the way that you move through life, the way that you interpret your experiences. You have to go back and face your trauma, because the way that you relate to those things is going to play out in a way that you don't want it to play out, because you're already taking action out of fear.
mm,
You're already behaving as if that bad thing has happened. You're already behaving as if you don't have money. And
mm.
so ultimately, you're going to not have money. You're going to push abundance further out of your reach.
Wow.
And so, yeah, for me, like, there's had to be a huge reprogramming with my relationship with money, just growing up not having money and seeing my parents struggle, and not wanting to continue that cycle.
Okay. Wow. I want to say, I do want to know one of the things about the All Black Everything Summit is that for my theory is that as Black creatives, when we create, we heal because we are, it's almost like a form of therapy.
Yeah.
We're able to channel out whatever is going on the inside. We use our hands to bring it out on the outside. We use our vision. What are some of your thoughts on that? Like how can people start to who might not identify themselves as being creative, even though I feel like all of us are. We have to in this world, we have to find creative ways of existing, period.
Right.
What are some of the ways in which you would ask some or tell someone to start to look at their creativity as a healing on the inside?
I mean, it starts with, like I said before, creating your life. Like, you might not identify as a creator of, music, or a creator of, a painter or anything like that, but you are a creator. And I think for a Black person to deny that they are a creator is, um, it's giving your power away, because we truly have the power to create and generate our own reality. And so you have to own that in order for you to use it, because them folks are aware. Like, everyone else is aware of your creative ability, and your ability to generate this reality as a Black person. So for you to not be aware of it is dangerous. Everyone else knows that you're powerful. Like, we are the only ones who don't know how powerful we are.
Mm,
And so we have to begin to own the fact that we are creators of our own reality, creators of our own destiny. Um, and again, like, once you get into alignment with this self-love journey, you start to receive information and understand, like, okay, this is what I can create. This is an expression of truth, an expression of the divine, an expression of, my experiences and the things that I've been through. Yeah, it's really just about coming into alignment with yourself. I think that's where you really start to tap into that infinite creativity, because you start to open yourself up as a vessel and realize that the creativity, you're just a channel for the creativity. Like, the creativity is coming through you. It's using you. And so I think we are all inherently creative. I think, again, to say that I'm not creative as a Black person is to be in denial of your power. And
mhm.
there are folks out here who are aware of how powerful you are. And so it's dangerous to not own that.
Very true. I have one more question before we start getting questions from our participants.
Okay.
Everyone says 2020. Everyone's like 2020 is this, 2020 is that. What are your feelings about 2020? Because I definitely have my feelings about 2020. I feel like, but I'm curious to know, do we feed into that, or how can we stop feeding into this narrative of 2020 is whatever is a bad year? What do you think?
For me, it's all about reframing our relationship with death. And I know you're like, probably like, how do the two correlate? But as someone who has been on this journey of transformation for the last 4 years, I understand the cycles of life and death. I understand what it looks like, to heal. I understand the healing process. I understand that what may seem like chaos is actually an attempt to get toward order. So I understand that 2020 seems like a bad year, but it's actually us in the cocoon. This is a year of transformation. This is a year of seeing all of our systems unravel so that something greater can be built. This is a year of everything falling apart. Being a creator is also being a destroyer, understanding when to let something die, understand when to destroy something so that something greater can be built in its place. We have to get in touch with the cycles of nature. Trees don't stay green year round unless they're evergreen trees, but trees, they shed their leaves every winter, and that might look like chaos, that might look like death, that might look like destruction, but it's actually just going internal and preparing for the next thing. So 2020 is preparing us for the next thing. We're waking up. Black people are waking up. We're not sleeping anymore. And so in order for us to wake up and to really walk in our power again, we have to let these systems unravel. We have to create space for something new to be built. And so I think we don't have to be in resistance to it. When we understand it, we don't have to live in resistance to it, but we don't understand it. Our relationship with death and cycles as is we are very resistant to it as a culture. We don't understand it. We go through this mourning process. And if we can go through a process of acceptance rather than a process of mourning, then we'll realize that the death is actually the preparation for the birth. It's the rebirth. It's the contractions, it's the darkness before the light. It's the storm before the calm. We're moving through this in an attempt to get to something better. So for me, I'm hella excited, like, because I understand what's coming. Like 2020 is a great year. Like 2020, for me is like the manifestation of my own journey of transformation that I've been on. It's just that I'm seeing it play out on a larger scale. So I'm super excited because I realize that this is the world, this is Black people awakening to our power. This is the manifestation of that. All of this disruption is the manifestation of Black people awakening to their power. And I know that it might not come right away, but I do believe that within the next few years, we're going to really see that 2020 it was the catalyst that carried us to the next level.
Amen. That is, oh my gosh. Thank you so much for saying that because I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Totally. So we're going to go to our first question. Let's see. What do you do to keep your creative channels open? That's a great question.
Yeah, I really think like I'm a huge advocate for self-care. Like when it comes to my creativity, self-care is the number one thing, and knowing when to like sort of isolate, and not isolate in a bad way, but just knowing when to just come into myself and get clear on who I am outside of any influences, even the influences of people I love. Like really, really being able to sit into my own identity is how I then create from an authentic space and keep those channels open, keep my relationship with the divine very clear and open, so that I can hear and see exactly what it is that I need to create.
So a side question from that: do you have any daily practices that you do, or for your self care?
I mean, prayer for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just like tuning in, like being in tune with my intuition in every moment, really, really trying to hear what it is that God is trying to tell me, what the universe is trying to tell me, what my ancestors are trying to tell me. Um, but yeah, daily not so much, but definitely like rituals, new moon rituals and full moon, things like that, taking baths, journaling. I think journaling is a great way to just like get really, really clear. I think it relieves the anxiety that we have from having our thoughts just sort of sitting in our mind and swirling around and going back and forth. It's like when you get it out on paper and you see it, you can really get clear on what it is that you're trying to do. So I definitely recommend journaling. For me, writing is huge. Like writing has been such a powerful tool in my healing. So
All right, so we have that. I love that. I love that. Monique Turner says, "What would you tell your 11-year-old self?"
I would tell my 11-year-old self that I'm good enough, that I'm worthy enough, that I'm, smart enough and pretty enough and capable enough and all of these things that we're programmed to believe we aren't. We're programmed to believe we aren't enough from infancy. We're constantly told that we can't go out into the world and achieve the things that we want to achieve. And so I've had to, in my adulthood, unlearn a lot of that programming. And I just wish that at 11 years old, I knew I was enough. And that I wouldn't have, taken on so many of those beliefs and so much of that programming from, the outside.
Especially as I think Black women, like a lot of times I feel like we hear this message, and of course I'm not going to disregard anyone else's experience and what they experience, but I do feel like we tend to hear these messages a lot about, and we're just fed them over and over again of who do we think we are? You'll never be able to do this. Just be, like so that's very, very true. I think we have another question that came in. Ebony, you are amazing. That's my sister, just so you know, Darius. What does speaking our collective truth look like for us as Black people?
Our collective truth.
And also, I guess one of the questions is, do we have a collective truth?
Right.
And yeah, so I guess that's to unpack that
I mean,
question.
that's interesting too. I think there are collective truths,
Hmm.
but I think that there are also. I think we're moving into this journey of like individuality too, and like nuanced Blackness, and niche things. Like, we've kind of, as Black people, we've kind of been painted with this really big broad brush,
Hmm.
um, that says Blackness has to look one way. And I think we are moving into this era of realizing that we are all unique individual expressions of the divine. And so there is not one idea of Blackness that can represent all of us. Granted, there are experiences that, a majority of us will have because we are in Black bodies, or because we are in this American system, you know, growing up, in poverty, or growing up experiencing racism, or growing up experiencing oppression. These are things that a lot of us will experience because we are in this American system in Black bodies. But we don't need to define ourselves through those things. Those aren't what defines our identity or defines our Blackness. I think this moment is about realizing that we have the opportunity to define our Blackness individually, and what that looks like for us. Um, and so, in terms of like expressing our collective truth, I think we can, I think it's super important for us to talk about, the things that we've been through as a result of capitalism, as a result of white supremacy, as a result of racism, because we carry a lot of shame and a lot of guilt
Hmm.
individually for things that um, are happening collectively, and things that we don't talk about, a lot of things that have gotten swept under the rug. We carry that, and I think that we can alleviate a lot of that guilt and shame if we have those conversations. But I think there's also an opportunity to have another conversation just on a deeper, nuanced level about who we are individually, and expressing that.
All right. Well, listen, Ebony, I want to wrap this up by just asking you one last question.
Okay.
And this, I would like to know what is what is your last message to us?
My last message.
Yes.
Said so much. It's really, love yourself. Like, use that as the gauge. Use that as the measuring tool whenever you need to make a choice. Because I feel like there's just so much information out there. There's so many distractions out there. There's so much just overwhelming news all the time. Whenever you need to make a choice, what does it look? What would someone who loves themselves do? What does it
Ooh.
look like to love myself? Am
Hmm.
I choosing this out of fear, or am I choosing this because I love myself? I think
Hmm.
sort of using that as a measuring tool going forward is going to put you in a position that you've never experienced before. Put you in a position of alignment that you've never experienced before, and it's really going to shift the way that you move through the world, shift the way that you move through relationships and participate with others, because you really start to realize all the ways that you have given your power away, and you start to take that back based on, I love myself now, and so I can no longer put myself in a situation that isn't a reflection of that love. It's not an easy journey. You will be lonely at times, you will be sad at times, but it is so worth it, because this freedom that you experience on the other side of that is unlike anything else. So
all right, well, listen, like, oh my gosh, like that is the perfect. I'm so happy that you agreed to come on today, the last day, because this is leaving people. People are leaving now with just go forth and do and create and do what you need to do. Because I feel like this was just the perfect word for everyone to hear right now. Because we got so much information these past 2 days, and to hear the message is self-love and to just go out and create, it was perfection. Thank you so much, Ebonee Davis, for joining us today. We really appreciate you. We really, really do. I will see you later. And I just want to say, I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you. And if I don't tell you that enough, I know I always slip into your DMs. I'll be like, girl, I'm proud of you. But I'm so happy I'm able to speak it to you and let you know that there are people, we're seeing what you're doing, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the gift that you're giving the world. So thank you for your gift. I appreciate you. All right, Miss Ebonee, take care. Bye. All right, everyone. Oh my goodness, next level conversation, because it was next level. Like that right there. Y'all, I'm so proud to just put this on. I really am. Like these are the type of conversations that I really love, and I feel like really add value. They add value. It's not surface level here. These are about adding value and each one teaching one and each one teaching the community, and just everyone take care of themselves and blasting it into the universe. So thank you again to Ebonee Davis. Up next, everyone, we have Miss Crystal Wright. I will see you guys in 30 minutes. everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I don't know about you guys, but that last session, Ebony Davis, wow, I got so many gems. I took away so much from that episode. I took away so much from what Ebony was saying, her experience, and how she stood up for herself in the midst of everything going on. Dwight says, oh, I'm sorry, Dwight. Wow, that was incredible. Yes, it was. It was so good. I agree. Monique, definitely going to have to replay this one. Yes, I agree. Me too. I have to watch it again. Hi, Lonely LaQuat. Hopefully I said that right. I'm excited for Crystal too. Crystal's coming up. I'm so excited. Crystal has a cheering squad up in this. Yes, I adore Crystal Wright. She has a cheering squad in the chat today. Latrice Tucker, trees go through the seasons just like we do. They sure do, and we sure do. Yay, I'm so excited too. I am happy. Before I bring Crystal into the room, this is our last day. This is our last panel. I really want to thank our presenting sponsor, Visa, for everything. Like Visa, let me tell you guys, they were an amazing partner in this. They really, I mean, the amount of care that they put into everything with me was amazing, and I really appreciate it. I also want to thank Splashlight Studios for providing us with this amazing background, because one of the reasons why I wanted to do this was, number one, I didn't want to be in the apartment anymore, where I said I had the refrigerator in the background for the last one with the paper towels on top of it. But this one, I wanted to provide motivation and inspiration to all of our Black creatives out there, to let them see, like, this is a studio. Anytime you come, you can legit work out of this studio. So if you have anything coming up, please definitely do not hesitate to book a session or a studio with Splashlight Studios, because they have taken care of us. I've been so comfortable. We've been so comfortable being able to work out of here, and it's been great. It's a whole nother, I feel like we're on another level, y'all. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like that. So anyways, I want to definitely say thank you all for tuning in. This is the last panel, but this one, I know for sure, I know for a fact that this one right here is how we laid the foundation. I keep saying we laid the foundation with Karen L. Culpepper. And then now we get ready to harvest, plant the seeds to harvest with Miss Crystal Wright. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Crystal on into the room. Let's bring it. Hello, Crystal.
Oh my gosh. I'm sitting here going, this wind up, I better deliver.
Well, we know you are, so I don't even know what you're talking about, but okay. Like first of all, I'm only just gonna be on the side. I'm probably not, y'all gonna see me, but y'all gonna be like, Crystal, we here for her. So I'm like, should I move out the way?
No, don't go anywhere. This is my security blanket over here. You're my security blanket, so you stay right there.
Well, you made such an impact in our first ABE Summit, and like really everyone, like the wisdom that you brought to the table, what you were saying, what you were doing, like what you were telling. I mean, you brought an education, a university education, in 1 hour of you being on camera. So it was just like, wow. Yeah, like I loved it. So Crystal, let us get started, because I know that you're going to drop so much information, and I want everyone to start getting their notebooks. If you don't have them already, your notebooks and your pencils, because I use pencils, or your pens, and take notes, because, teaching is my superpower. You saw that cup. She already let y'all know what her superpower is.
Right? Wait a minute. And one of my Win Now students from last year sent me this cup. Isn't it? And it's so neat. It's so neat.
It really is.
Right? And so if you like learning, I love teaching, and I'm just really excited about this. I'm always excited when people challenge me to consider a topic or a subject that maybe is not directly inside my expertise, but it really makes me go back and think about my own life. And this was a great topic for that, because having a seat at the table is about having power. It's about having influence. And I think sometimes when we're starting out, we don't think that we have any power and we don't have any influence. And when we don't raise our hands.
Wow. Yes.
Right?
Yes. So as you already said, the topic for this panel is why Black creatives must start building their own table. Because a lot of times we tend to, and I come from that generation of we went through the gatekeepers to get where we needed to be. We asked to go through. I love this next generation of creatives. They ain't asking for that. They're going around the side, and I love that. I love that. So I think that is what the main thing for today is. We need to build our own tables. We need to stop asking for permission. And that is exactly why I knew that you would be the perfect person to talk about this. So Ms. Crystal Wright, let us know.
Well, you know what, Joy? It's like when you say that, when I think about when I got started in the business, and things that people wouldn't know are things like I had to actually stop and consider if I was sending artists out on a job, how the white people were going to feel if I sent too many Black people to the job, because they instinctively didn't think that we had the chops to work on everything. Okay. And I think in addition to the fact that these young people who are inspiring us, by the way, these young people are knocking down the doors and they're creating, just like they're setting their own tables, they're creating their own doors. There's a wall. Put a square in it, knock it out, and that's a new door, and they're doing that. And they have been raised with a different sense of what they're able to do, and they are worried less about stepping on people's toes. And I think that is the right mindset to get into. I think that's the right mindset to get into. So
I love the fact that, we definitely have that set that are doing it. But what about the set that aren't in that place just yet? And that is really who I want to speak to today. Is people who aren't in that place just or who don't think they're in that place just yet.
Right.
So how can we get everyone knowing that they are the ones in charge of their own destiny?
Exactly. So here I go. Are you guys ready? Do you have your pencils and your pens ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. So, when you talk about why Black creatives need to start building their own table, the obvious reason to begin with is because nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody's going to do it for you. Another reason is because all the important decisions are made at that table. And those decisions are often made before you even show up. It creates an opportunity. Building your own table creates an opportunity for you to expand support for your ideas, for your projects, just like the All Black Everything Summit. Okay? So it creates an opportunity for you to expand the support that you need in order to do big things. It's so easy to do small things on your own, but when it comes time to do big things, nobody does that on their own. The next thing is that setting your own table gives you experience in how to pitch your ideas. Because a lot of times we have to pitch our ideas to other people to bring them on board, okay? Another thing is that it gets you out of your comfort zone and into new circles when you are setting this table. It gives you a reason to expand your network. It gives you a reason to make new connections. And it reminds me of the prayer of Jabez. I don't know if anybody has that book, but what he says is, "Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory. So one of the things about setting that table and creating your table is it gives you an opportunity to expand your territory. And it teaches you that accomplishing big things requires the building of new relationships, alliances, and allegiances with other people. Okay? And it turns you into a leader. Because when you are setting your own table, people are expecting you to lead. They're expecting you to set the tone. They're expecting you to lay out the agenda. So before we talk about how you build the table, I want to talk about, first of all, what does it mean to have a seat at someone else's table? Because when you have an understanding of what it means to have a seat at somebody else's table, what it does is it gives you clues and it gives you a roadmap to building your own. Because what we do know is that every project, every endeavor, and every idea requires a table. Even if you're Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak building Apple in a garage, every time you sit down to talk about it, you're sitting down together at that table to come up with ideas, to talk about who's the right team. The next thing is that every single seat at that table has a person sitting in it. And these people have certain qualities, they have certain attributes, they have certain skill sets, and most importantly, or not most importantly, but they also come to the table with relationships of their own that they can bring to bear on your project.
I love
Okay, right? So what it means is that you have to think about the people that you're bringing to your table. You've got to think about what their strengths are. But first, you have to think about what do you need to build this project. And then you start looking for the people to come sit at the table to help you build it. So what does having a seat at the table when you get a seat say about you? Number one, just like the seat you need to fill, it says that you have a proven track record of getting things done. Nobody invites you to the table if your shit is raggedy.
That is true.
I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're doing makeup on set. I don't care if you're a graphic designer. If you don't have a proven track record of getting things done, nobody wants you sitting at their table because they can't trust you to do the part that is going to be assigned to you. The next thing is, getting a seat at the table means that you are in a position to assert yourself. And that word assert is so important because assert means that to claim, it means to insist on, it means to proclaim, it means to avow. So you being able to assert yourself means that when you are at that table, you have the ability to do it there, and you have the ability to do it out in the world so that you can accomplish whatever task it is that you've been given and the reason you were brought to that table. And so as I'm talking about these things, I want you to think about maybe a table that you're considering setting, or you're in the middle of setting for a project you have, an idea, a business. I don't care what it is. Who are you surrounding yourself with? And when I was doing this, I was thinking about my theory of building your sandbox. It's like a sandbox. You bring people in, you test them out, and if they work, then the team gets bigger. So now you're building this table. In order to assert yourself, you have to be able to do it with assurance. And assurance means that you have the ability to guarantee the end result of whatever it is that you are promising that you can do. Number two, asserting yourself with confidence means that you are sure. And so when you're sitting at that table and you speak up, you don't do it because you want to hear yourself talk. You want to do it because you're making a contribution.
Mm-hmm.
Asserting yourself with force means dynamic, that you are a dynamic person, that you're going forward and you can forcefully make your position and then you can deliver. And lastly, with strength, because having strength is about being compelling.
Mm-hmm.
And what I said early on was that when you're sitting at somebody else's table, it's like sitting in the front row and waving your hand. And you're saying, give me some responsibility because I can handle it. If you give it to me, I promise that I'm going to deliver. So what then does having a seat at the table confirm about you that you need to be able to confirm about the people that you're bringing to build your own table? Right?
Wow. Yes. Yes.
It means that you have the power to affirm.
Mm-hmm.
That means you have the power to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whenever I'm doing something, I don't care what it is. If I'm calling the credit card company to ask them to reduce my interest rate, and the first person that I come in contact with says no, the next thing out of my mouth is, well, can you transfer me to somebody who can say yes?
I love that.
Can you transfer me to somebody who can say yes? And I just did it with my Discover card. And not only did they do some magic, but then they gave me $100 just because. And so having a seat at the table confirms that you have the power to do certain things. One of them is to say yes. Another one is to defend or represent your position. You know, you've got to be able to defend or represent why you're making certain decisions, why you're going in a certain direction. Because the truth is, think about it. If you got people sitting around a table and you're the leader, and one of the people that you brought on tells you that they are going to implement what you asked them to do in a way that is foreign to you, what do you want them to do? I want you to represent and defend how that is going to work because it's outside of my comfort zone. Okay? Yeah. The next thing is you have the power to make suggestions and be listened to. See, talking and nobody's listening to you doesn't matter. When you speak, you want people to listen. Why? Because you have a proven track record of getting things done. You have the power to nominate other people for opportunities when you have a seat at the table. You have the ability to influence the thoughts and actions of other people. And you can make educated guesses that others find valuable in their own decision-making processes. And lastly, you can, you know, in the film business, they call it being able to green light a project. So if you're sitting at the table, can you green light something? Can you give the go-ahead? Can you get something financed? What is it that you can do? And it's so important to sit down and look at these words. These words affirm, to say yes, to defend and represent your position, to make suggestions and be listened to be able to nominate others and start to take stock of what you are actually able to do, because when you know what you're able to do, you feel more confident about raising your hand and saying and asking someone if you can sit at their table. Okay?
Yes.
I'll give you an example. When I was living in LA, I was a volunteer for a domestic violence intervention program. And for the first couple of years, I would go, whatever they would ask me to do. If they were going to do, people would bring clothes and they would wash and dry the clothes, and then they would put them up and they'd have like a big sale to sell clothes to raise money. So in proving that I could be counted on, whenever they asked me to do something and I committed to do it, I showed up whether I felt like it or not. So while in the beginning I started with cleaning and sorting and showing up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, I was invited to sit at a table to help plan an event, right? And I was assigned the task of putting together the swag bags for a big gala. And when I tell you that I did not have a clue, you would think that because I've been in the beauty business all these years, I would know what to do. I didn't have a clue where to start. But here's what I did have. I had a track record of getting things done. And when you have a track record, it gives you confidence to actually be able to do things that you're not sure of, because you can go back in your memory and think about your successes. What I did have was relationships. I had relationships with beauty supply companies in LA, like Namies and Friends and all those companies. And I had relationships with cosmetic brands like Makeup Forever and MAC Cosmetics. But you know what I really had? I had a friend who knew how to do this that owed me a favor.
Okay.
And I called in that favor. And I brought that person to the table because I was still responsible for doing it. But I brought that person to the table with me, and she actually did all of the work, and I was able to take all of the credit. So one of the things, the result of that was that I became a permanent fixture in the inner circle of volunteers, which meant that whenever something important was going on and whenever that circle of volunteers was involved, I got to be part of it, which then started to expose me to things like the mayor of Los Angeles.
Wow.
Okay? Being invited to people's homes, which then exposed me to other people. And see, that's what we need when we're trying to build a table. Okay?
Wow. Yes. Let me really quickly. I just want to first, everyone, if you guys want to share this out, please feel free. Like, we need everyone to come in here and learn these lessons. But Crystal, you mentioned relationships, and like you said, relationships are extremely important to have. So with the relation, a lot of people don't know where to start or how to start to build these relationships or build relationships of people that can actually say yes to something.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
if you could go into that, that would be great.
Well, I'll tell you something. It's kind of like when people say, well, in order to be successful in this business, in the makeup, hair, and styling part of the business, you have to know somebody. They say that all the time. But how many people didn't know somebody and became successful in this business? It is because to build relationships, you have to put yourself out there. And the thing that I always encourage people to do is, number one, there are all kinds of events that happen. I don't care whether it's a conference. There are all kinds of things that happen where the people that you want to meet and the people that you want to know, that those people are there. Sometimes you might have to spend $100 to buy a ticket. Right?
Yeah.
So what are you willing to invest in yourself to put yourself in position to have access to people? This is number one. Look around at the year in 2020. Think about where you want to be. Then think about the people that you would like to meet, and then find out where those people are going to be. And if you got to pay to be in the room, pay to be in the room. It's probably the cheapest ticket that you will ever buy. Okay?
Wow. Yeah.
You get in the room. Number two, since you already know who you want to meet, take the time to research that person. And I always say the simplest thing to do, research that person and come up with 3 interesting questions that you would like to ask them, because that is a way to engage people. Don't make it about you. Make it about them. You know, if you're going to an event, and I'll use an event like the makeup show, and somebody you want to meet, like Joy Fennell, is going to be speaking there. You cannot just walk up to that person and say, oh my God, I just really love your work. That is the end of that conversation.
Oh,
but
wow.
if you have done your research, if you have gone to Joy's website, if you have learned about the ABE Summit, surely you can come up with a question about the ABE Summit. Surely you can come up with a question about her work, something that's going to be different from all the rest of the people who walk up and say, oh, Joy, I just love your work. It's just so beautiful. So you don't have, that is a way of starting to build relationships, because first you have to have an audience with that person. The other thing is, when you know people who know other people, if you have proven yourself as the kind of person who handles your business, those people do not mind you asking them for introductions. They don't mind you asking them for recommendations. But if you are raggedy, if you are handling your business in a way that the person is concerned that you are going to embarrass them, they are not going to introduce you.
Yes. Wow.
That's it. They're not going to introduce you. So a lot of times we have resources, but unfortunately, when we start writing those names down on a piece of paper, we start thinking about all the areas where we didn't come through. Ooh, I can't call them. Right? Oh, I would like to, but ooh, that's right. I told her I was going to do this. And so you are actually taking yourself out of the game by not following through on your commitments, so that you can show people that you are worthy of sitting at the table, which then gives you entree to invite them to come to your table, to invest in your idea.
Wow. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
One of the things, okay, so one of the things that I always say is build your table, but also bring chairs with you, because a lot of people build their tables and then they don't reach back, or they almost act like they're okay with, I'm okay with me just going through the door, but nobody else can sit at that table. Then they become the gatekeepers that they are so frustrated with. They then become the gatekeepers. So
Right.
how can we also now bring our chairs and invite other people to these tables?
You know, Joy, you know what you're talking about is you're talking about a deep-seated fear and sense of lack.
Ooh, okay, come with it. Yes.
That's it. It's a fear and a sense of lack that makes you not want to bring anyone with you. And it is, I'll tell you something else that it is, though. It is, a lot of times people have had bad experiences, and then they take that experience with them and they start to project it onto other people, which is so unfair. Because a lot of times we've had bad experiences with people, but we have unclean hands. We have unclean hands in that when we shouldn't have chosen the person that we chose to help us in the first place. And then when they let us down, we want to take that experience and project it onto everyone else, because we're not taking responsibility for the fact that maybe we didn't make so great a choice.
Wow. Wow. Just as simple as that. Yes.
It's just as simple as that. You know, you can, it's like hiring Mookie to build your website. And now, and Mookie is an African American, but Mookie was never qualified to build your website. You let somebody talk you into it, and now you don't want to bring another Black person along who's capable, who's qualified, who has a great reputation because of a bad experience you had with Mookie. But the truth is, Mookie is your fault.
But that definitely speaks into when people have this stereotype or this notion that Black businesses aren't up to par, and it's just like, all businesses can have customer service issues. We're not stopping to go to those businesses, but then we put it in our head not to continue to patronize Black businesses.
But the thing is, Joy, and unfortunately, a lot of those narratives were given to us as children.
Yes.
And now we're still carrying it around with us. And no, that's really what it is. I mean, I can remember somebody in my family saying one time something that was just so heinous. But at the time, everybody said things like this. She said, I said, well, why don't you get a Black real estate agent? And she said, I'm not going to let a spook sell my house.
Wait, what? Wow.
A Black person said this. But what I'm trying to say to you is that we have had these narratives. We have been raised on narratives that continue to plague us and make us question whether or not we should bring somebody who looks like us with us. And it is a false narrative. It is a false belief. There are plenty of people who look like us who are doing great work out there. And we have to trust the right people. See, that's it too. You have to trust the right people, and you have to be able to say no. Sometimes sometimes we bring the wrong people with us because we're afraid to say no, because we don't want to hurt anybody's feeling. But you see, that's not leadership.
That is true.
It's not leadership. And in leadership, you have to make tough decisions. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. But, we're out there. Aren't you putting together a directory?
Yeah, so I help partner in the directory. An organization by the name of Many Hats. They started the directory, and they reached out to me to help partner with it. So yes, and a couple of the team members that are working on All Black Everything Summit are from the directory. So it was a great resource.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, that's something. I hope you've been sharing that every single day.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say every day, but I'm trying to make sure people know about it. So guys, just so you know, we have a directory that you can put your name and everything else into.
Yes, Daria said, Black people are amazing too.
Yeah.
Not even two.
Yeah.
Not even two. Black people are amazing.
Oh, hand clap. Yes.
Right? Black people are amazing. And thank you, Daria, for that. But, it's so important to be prepared to engage. Like we were talking about having access to other people. And what I say is engage people. To engage people, you have to be prepared. That means you need to research the person. You need to always have 3 great questions you can ask them. You should also be prepared to compliment them on their accomplishments, because what gets people's attention better than a compliment about something they've done?
That's
and
true.
Then look for ways to leverage your own expertise to help others with their tables.
Wow, I love that. All right, well, Crystal, I want to know, so you've been in the industry for a little while now. What has been essential to your longevity in this industry?
I would say that it is having a standard of excellence for myself.
Ooh, yes.
And this is what this is. It's so important to have a standard of excellence so that you know when you're falling short of your own standard. See, if you don't have a standard, then you can just go whichever way the wind blows. And if it works out, it works out. But it's like having your own litmus test to manage your own performance, your own targets, you know, whether it is um, uh, being on time, whether it's being prepared, you know, what is your own standard of excellence? And my grandmother gave me that standard when I was a little girl because she insisted that everything was done right. She insisted that when you started a project, you finished it before you went on to something new. She insisted that if she taught me how to do it and I did it right once, that meant I knew how to do it right and I needed to keep doing it at that level, but not to do it and go, oh, nobody's going to notice.
I love that. I love that. I wanted to also, yes, well, excellence or getting to that point of excellence, I think is so needed. Excellence, and I just want to also say, like, excellence does not mean perfect. Like, you're not a perfect, you know, I think a lot of people get disappointed if they don't do something perfectly. So it's just like, as long as it's done and it's done to the best of your ability and you're really striving towards this level, I think that all you can do is just really like just keep bringing it.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, Neil Fiore, who wrote The Now Habit, talks about one of the reasons that people procrastinate is because they're trying to achieve perfection. Right? And so you procrastinate because you don't think you can achieve this level of perfection. It's not about perfection. In fact, you're going to make mistakes. The question is, are you learning from the mistakes you made and are you tweaking as you go? And it reminds me of Guy Kawasaki, who's an author and started his professional career working at Apple. And he talked about when Apple came out with that first, I think the Apple II computer, whatever it was, he said that computer was not perfect. He said, but you cannot not release a product because it's not perfect. You release it and then you keep working on it to make it better. Now, back then, remember, they would send you out new little floppy disks.
Yeah.
They send you an update.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you think about it for a second and you're doing something and you start deciding not to release it, not to go for it because it's not perfect, think of your iPhone. Think about how many updates you get on your iPhone.
Wow, yes. That is so true.
Isn't that true? Think about it. It's like when I do a presentation, I go back and look at it and say, how can I make this better? I don't think it's perfect. I don't think this is perfect right now. But if I was focused on it being perfect, I wouldn't be here. I've got to be focused on making my point, adding value. If I add value and I make my point, I can go back and tweak it to make it better next time. But if I never deliver it, then I'm depriving people of an opportunity to get some information that they can use to continue to work on themselves, to build their table, to build their career. So you have to get off of that perfection thing because it doesn't exist.
Well, this is a great segue into my next question. And just really quickly, guys, if you guys have questions, we're going to start questions in about 5 minutes. But I do want to ask this, Crystal, because we have so much we see so many curated things. We look at social media all day long. We're seeing what somebody else is doing. We're tuning our ears to this. We're getting inundated with what people are doing constantly. What are some tips that you suggest for us to stop, to almost like have blinders on, to just worry about our own? What that little girl say? Worry about yourself. Like how can we worry about ourselves?
Well, let me say this. Number one, everybody this weekend needs to watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix. Is that everything?
Oh,
You have to watch The Social Dilemma because we talk about this very thing. And let me start at the end and work this way. One of the last things we heard in The Social Dilemma was that all of these people, the guy who created the like button on Facebook, the vice presidents, CEOs, people who worked at Instagram, Facebook, all these different big companies that are feeding us their social media, said they do not allow their children to
wow.
look to even be involved in social media until they're at least 16.
Yes.
Think about that for a second. They don't allow their children. The tips that they gave are the same tips I give over and over and over again. Number one, turn the notifications off on your phone. Turn the notifications off on Instagram. Turn the notifications off on Facebook, off on Twitter. Because as long as those notifications are on, they are managing you. They are managing you. You are not managing yourself. And here's another thing. Think about this. Most successful people can concentrate for 90 minutes uninterrupted. Can you?
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Can you focus on something that you're doing for 90 minutes uninterrupted? Most people cannot do it. We used to be able to do it. And this is something that I am working on, and I'm getting better and better and better because I only started working on it about 2 months ago. And I've only just gotten to 47 minutes.
Wow. So you do a timer?
Yes. So I can see.
Okay.
I put the timer on to see how long I focus. But I have taken off. Hi, Tanya. I see Tanya Russell. I've taken all the notifications off on my phone.
Wow.
When I show you my phone, now I know most of you would have, you see that little 16 on Skype?
Yes.
I never check Skype. I don't even know why that 16 is there. But you don't see any notifications on Instagram, on Facebook, on anything else. So once you turn that off and that pop up and that sound, you stop hearing that sound, you become more and more and more focused. And the more focused you are and the greater your ability to concentrate on something, the more successful you will be. Because sitting at your desk trying to cure cancer and going like this every 5 minutes, oh, wait a minute. Because, and this is what I'll never forget, Rennie said, that self-comparison is the thief of joy.
Oh, yes.
And people go on social media with this lie that they have told themselves about how they're looking for inspiration. But when they get off, they need a value because they spend their time, a lot of times on social media, comparing themselves to other people instead of running their own race.
Wow.
The thing is, you get on social media, now you're focused on somebody else's race. Now you're scrolling through their pages and you're even saying, well, how come I haven't done that? I started my career the same time they did. Why are they getting ahead and I'm not? Why are they doing better than me? Whoa.
Yeah. Yes.
And the thing is, you're not going to get to 90 minutes in a day or a week or a month. But if you start, the finishing will take care of itself. And I wish I had said that, but Neil Fiore said that too, and I just.
Well, listen, well, we have plenty more quotes that we can write a whole book that you have said. So don't you worry. One more quote. Hey, it is what it is. So, Crystal, I want to know who is at your table? Who is in your community? Who keeps you lifted?
Oh, what a great question. I have one of the people at my table is a woman by the name of Carla Denise. Carla Denise is the chief strategy officer for a healthcare system. She's one of the sisters at the top, right? I have another friend. Her name is, oh God, I can't remember her name. She actually introduced me to Carla Denise, and she lives in LA, and she is an investment banker. And she only deals with people, so she doesn't help me with my money, because she only deals with people who have like $5 million or more, right? So those are a couple of the people at my table. My old sales manager, Tom Alear, from Xerox, is at my table. He's definitely a go-to person for me. Hold on, let me open that.
Okay.
He's definitely a go-to person for me. And, the thing is, when you look at your own table, you need to find people who are smarter than you. If you're the smartest person in the room, you got to have people at your table that are smarter than you. And I would say that you need people at the table who can provide a dissenting voice.
Okay.
You don't need a bunch of people at the table who are yes people who agree with you, because that is the best way that I know to lose all sense of reality. When everybody around you is telling you, yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Where are the people who are questioning you so that it opens up a door for you to give more thought to what you're about to embark on, what you're about to do? You want people to say, why are you doing it that way? You want people to say, well, have you considered this? Have you spoken to this person? And you want people to be able to say, you know what, I have a friend who is in that field. Can I connect the two of you?
Wow. Yes, I love that. Okay, I think we have a question for the audience.
Okay.
Thanks for the movie recommendation. Do you recommend any books?
Okay. Do I recommend any books? Have you got your pen and paper? Let me tell you something. I am such a reader. For women, one of my can I grab it, Joy?
Yes, please.
So I can
definitely.
Okay, hold on. Let me grab a few books here, because these are the things that I have read. Oh, this is my guy right here. Okay. Oops, I want to, I got all these lights and stuff. Okay, so Neil Fiore.
Okay.
I now have it.
Okay. I gotta get that. I don't have that one.
Oh, this book is amazing.
Okay.
This book is amazing because it says the Fiore Productivity Program for Overcoming Procrastination and Enjoying Guilt-Free Play. See, because this is so important, because a lot of times, even when we're not being productive, when we really should just get up and go and play a round of golf, we don't do it, but we're not accomplishing anything in our offices. And we don't see the value. He shows you the value of guilt-free play, of creating in your schedule time for yourself, for you and your family, because it recharges you and makes it possible for you to go out there. So that's one. This every woman should read.
Ask for it. Wow. How women can use the power of negotiation to get what they really want. Okay.
Oh no, this book right here, you see my book. Why? Because in the Win Now mentorship program, I have challenges, and I am going to add an asking for it challenge, because women don't ask. We don't ask. Men ask when they're 50% ready. Women don't ask until they feel like they're 100% ready. And all along the way, they're missing opportunities. It's a statistic. We feel like we're not ready. Men are not ready all the time, but they still got their hand up. And we have to get our hands up.
Woo. That's truth right there. I believe that statistic. I really do.
Yeah, we have to get our hands up. Here's another one.
Wooden.
Oh my gosh.
John Wooden. Okay.
Oh, John Wooden. And when you were talking about, when I was talking about standards, Coach John Wooden said something like this. I'm sure this is not the exact quote, but he said, if you don't give 100%, it's quite possible that nobody will know, but it still makes you a loser.
Oh. Oh my, wow. Yes.
Is that deep? If you're not giving 100%, nobody else may know.
Because, yeah, I get that. I totally understand that.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you something. You know, in 2015, I did the Business Development Summit, remember?
Yes.
And it was great. I mean, there were so many positive outcomes from that summit. But I did this breakfast 3 days in a row, and I had to get up and present at this breakfast. And one young lady who, like you, is a PYP grad from my packaging your portfolio class, after the third day, because you had to pay extra to come to that breakfast. After the third day, she came up to me and she said, you were not 100%. And I'm sure nobody else knew it, but I knew it.
Wow. Wow.
She said, I knew it. She said, that was not your best.
Wow. That's a wake-up call. Wow.
That was a wake-up call. And she was right. The rest of the people, some of them probably knew, but most of them that were meeting me for the first time, they were perfectly happy with what they got from me. But she knew. She's like, that wasn't your best.
Wow.
Because I know your best. I've seen it.
Wow. That's deep. That is deep.
Oh, I straightened up. I was like, yeah, because here's the thing. You could get defensive about that, or you can listen.
True.
Because as long as you're being defensive, then you can't work on what you can do differently to have a better outcome next time, because you're in your head and you're full of yourself. So you need people like, it was like you were talking about who's at your table. Because the other thing I was thinking about is I was thinking about some artists in the industry that are at my table who will call me out. Like you, Delina, Jennifer McDougall. These are people that I trust, that if they call me up and say you're wrong, or this, you shouldn't have done that, or I don't think you should have, then I'm going to listen. And you have to have those voices around you.
That's so true. So true. I think we have some more questions that are rolling in. Crystal, what action steps do you think we as Black creative people need to get our power back in all facets of life? What action steps?
Oh my gosh. Well, hold on one second, because I actually made a list.
She's bringing out the list, everyone.
Wait a minute. You know a sister has a list.
I know. We got the list, y'all. We got the list.
Well, I always have a list. I always have a what you need to do. Okay? So one of the things I wrote down was look inward. Look inward. Ask questions. ask yourself questions. So this will bring it home for you.
Okay.
In my book, 30 Days at 100%, I say, I am 100% when.
Okay.
In 8 different areas of your life. You can pick the professional aspect of your life. If you put work, see, because you got to remember, you cannot separate your personal life from your business life. You can separate it, but the truth is, every day you wake up personally in your house. So what you're doing in your house determines how you're going to do at work. Okay? So if you think of 8 areas in your life and you say work, and you say promotion, and you say projects, and you ask yourself, what would make me 100% in these areas of my life? That actually creates a list for you that you need to work on. Okay, so I'm going to use a personal example. Inside, outside, personal, professional, family, finances, activities, and health. Those are 8 areas, right? So if I look on the outside, because anytime you're going live, on the outside is important. And I say, my 100% is I am 100% when my brows, lashes, cheeks, and lips are ready for prime time. My hair is done, I'm dressed, and I have my shoes on. This is a really important list for me. This is such an important thing. So if I say I am 100% when that is, then I have to ask myself, how? Am I 100%? Am I at 80%? Am I at 50%? Am I getting up in the morning and walking around with a pair of sweats on, not ready to be in front of the camera? What can I do to make myself 100% in that area and then start working on it?
I love that.
So I think the thing to do is to look at your life and ask yourself, in these areas that are most important for me to move forward in my business, in my career, and in my personal life, am I hitting the mark? Am I 100%? And if not, how am I going to change it?
I love that. I love that. I think we have one room for one more question from Kenya. Crystal, for folks with product-based businesses, how should we go about getting products to major retailers and high-profile people?
How should we go about getting projects to major retailers and high-profile people?
Yeah, products. They want to.
Okay, so let's talk about high-profile people first.
Okay.
Most high-profile people have publicists. And if you can get to the publicist, which you usually can, then you can get your product in front of those people. There's a great list. There's a great online resource called whorepresents.com. And that is a great way to go and find the people. Now, it's a subscriber-based thing, but you can just subscribe to it for a month. But start with the list. Who are the people I want to get to? Subscribe to it for a month, cancel it the day after so you have it for the month, and then go in and find the key contact people for the people that you're trying to get to. Create a beautiful cover letter and send it out with your product to give people an opportunity to be exposed to it. But also, and here's the thing, if you have an expectation for what is going to happen when you send that to somebody, you need to make it clear what it is that you want. And that goes back to asking. Don't feel so grateful that you need to send your product out to somebody because you want them to use it, you want to get it in front of people, and then not have an expectation of what you want them to do and make it known. It's like When I did the last hair, makeup, and fashion selling career guide, and I sent it out, I forgot my ask.
Hmm.
And if you don't ask, people are just like, oh, gee, thanks. That's great. Thanks for sending that over. Glad you don't want me to do anything. So you don't have an expectation.
Right.
Now, and then in terms of getting your stuff to retail, I don't know what level you're talking about. Maybe you're talking about, I think of beauty supply stores. I think of the beauty supply store level, which is, you know, Alcone and Namie's and Friends and all that. That's easy to do. You know, you send a letter, you call, you follow up with a phone call, you request a meeting. But then if you're talking about the Walmart level, the Target level, you're going to have to find out what their process is and have an understanding. A lot of times people want to go after those kinds of companies, but you get your meeting, you go in and you show them what you got, and they're all excited about it. And they say, this is great. We're going to need 250,000 units of that, but you don't have the capability to produce that many units because you also don't have the upfront money to get it done. So the first thing you want to do is start inquiring with those companies to find out what their process is for reviewing products. The other thing I would say is, if you don't have a lot of business training, go to SCORE, SCORE. There are all kinds of retired executives there who can help you, because some of those people might end up being the people at your table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's my suggestion. But let me say, can I go back to the other question? Do you mind?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I don't mind.
Because when somebody asks, what would I do and what were the steps? Number one, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Make new friends.
Mm-hmm.
That means introduce yourself to other people. Get out of your comfort zone.
Okay.
Attend events alone if necessary.
I love that.
It's like going to the gym. If you wait for your girlfriend to go to the gym with you, you might put on 50 pounds. Go to the gym by yourself. Go to the event by yourself. Next, toot your own horn.
Mm-hmm.
Toot your own horn. Share stories about projects that you have spearheaded, managed, or volunteered on. See, that's raising your hand. Look at me. Look at me. And women especially have to get in that space. Men do not have the same challenges with saying, look at me, and talking about what they've done as women do. The next thing, share your interest and new opportunities. When somebody is talking to you about something they're working on that sounds interesting to you, don't just go, oh yeah. Say, you know what, that sounds like an interesting project that I would like to get involved in. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? And I can share with you what some of my expertise, my skill set is, and maybe you could use me on your project. Because the thing is, sometimes you're waiting for somebody to ask you, but that person doesn't know what your expertise or your skill set is, so they don't even know they should be asking. So why shouldn't you volunteer? And ask for introductions. That was the next thing that we should be doing. Ask for introductions. Get your act together so you feel comfortable asking for introductions so that people can say yes to you.
I love that. Well, there you have it. There you have it. Miss Crystal Wright, thank you so much for coming on today. Like you were a perfect selection to end out the All Black Everything Summit. Oh my gosh, like I knew when we first started, we laid the foundation, and now we built the house, and now we just built the roof. So I am excited and happy to go live in this house, because I know that everything has been brought forth for us to learn and to grow and to keep it going and to take back to our communities and to teach them as well. So I think like I want to say I appreciate you and thank you so much for being on today. Is there
I
any
love you, Joy.
last words you want to say?
Um, I do have a last word, and I wrote it right here.
Okay.
Be the kind of people, be the kind of person that you want to attract.
Mm. And that right there is the word. That
Be,
is
right?
perfect. Yes.
Be the kind of person that you want to attract. Be
Mm.
the people you want
Yes.
to be in business with.
Yes. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Crystal. I love you. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. I never take it for granted when people invite me to um, to be a part of their programs. I don't take it for granted that you wanted me to be part of this project. I thank you. I hope that people walk away from this with some takeaways. And yeah, that's it.
Well, I love you. Sending you big hug and kiss, okay?
Bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh, Crystal, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, everyone, that was our last guest for the summit. Our summit is officially wrapped. Can you believe that? 3 days. It's like it takes. It's like once it gets here, it's like go time, and then next thing you know, it's like a snap of the finger and it's done. And I'm just like, what? I can't believe that. I'm like, it just started. So I wanted to end by definitely saying some thank yous and just to let you know that the second All Black Everything Summit has officially come to an end. I'm going to, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to read a little something. Hopefully, I don't need any tissue paper around because I don't want the tears to start flowing. But I can't end without thanking each and every one of you. But I definitely cannot end without thanking my sponsors, whole entire team, and family. Thank you, Visa, for believing in my mission and signing on to help me see this through. Words cannot express how appreciative I am of all the team. Sorry. Of all the team members at Visa that helped to expedite the process, such as Daniela, Catherine, Mark, and Mary, and many, many more. Thank you also goes out to Splashlight Studios. Thank you for providing comfort, but thank you for especially providing inspiration and motivation. I hope seeing this lovely set has motivated you to create, whether it be photography, film, graphics, or even events. These things are possible, and Splashlight can help you with whatever you need. I don't need to be crying through that. Make sure to contact them and let them know that, and let them also say a very special big thank you to the Splashlight team, Yarel, Zachary, Owen, and I cannot forget one of my biggest supporters, Lida. You are a real one. I always love you forever. I also wanted to start to shout out the team behind the summit. T10, Matthew, Donnie, and Kevin. I appreciate you guys, and also Aaron. I know he's new, but thank you, Aaron. Cornisha at Her Bloom, Empress Bernardo, Stephanie Soto, Angel Seth, Sheffy, Imani, Hamilton. First of all, Imani did the intro and the outro. Amazing. I love it. Vicky Vogt Rosenberg. Vicky, I don't even know. Words can't explain how appreciative of Vicky I am. She is the bomb. Like, seriously, I appreciate every single thing Vicky has done for us. Kia, who did the website for us. She's with Golden Launch Creative. Courtney Cummins, our copywriter for the website. Jared Lampley, he did such an amazing job. I appreciate everything Jared did. Colin Robinson, Tariq Brown, Gabriella Cruz, Rashana, thank you, Rashana Duet. I appreciate it. Dwight Reeves, thank you, Dwight. I appreciate it. I also want to shout out Benjamin Turbinson. Benjamin was the head of creative for the summit, and I really appreciate it. We go, me and Ben have such an amazing relationship. We are like two heads butting, but at the same time we come together and we create such beautiful stories, and I love it. I love it. Now I want to shout out the day-to-day team members that helped me not pull the last. That helped me not pull the last bit of hair out of my head. Jamie and Amy, your help with this summit was invaluable. You two are a force to reckon with. Thank you for making sure I kept on task. Daria Fennell, my sister, you also saw her in the chat. Thank you for helping with copyright and publicity and securing people. I appreciate you helping out in a number of areas. Thank you, and I love you. And thank you for getting the chat and keeping the chat popping. Thank you so much. Mommy, thank you so much for being so excited and happy every time you found something out. You are my #1 cheerleader, and I so appreciate it. G-Mom, my grandmother, I hope I made you proud. I really want you to know that even though there were times that you didn't think I was listening, I was soaking it all in. Everything that our family did and fought for, one of my goals is to make you all proud. Finally, let me just say this. These two individuals are the other two corners of this triangle. First, Karen, you are my soul sister for real. At times, I think we came out of the same womb together because we are so in sync. That is scary. I so appreciate every single thing that you've done for me, said to me, etc. Your encouragement and quiet but powerful resistance has taught me so much. You are a force to be reckoned with. I love you. And also, J-Dot, finally J-Dot, what can I say? You, my dear, have my front, sides, and back. There is no way at all that I could have pulled this off without you. Actually, hold on one second. J-Dot, come on over. He's here with me right now, and I want to finish. I want to bring him on. He's not. I had to make sure that he came on in here. Come on in here and say hello to everyone. That's J-Dot, everyone. That's J-Dot. And I just wanted to say I couldn't have pulled this off without you and Karen in my corner. That level of care and attention that you show to the panelists, guests, and definitely me just makes me want to cry. You are my brother. We've known each other since college, and I feel like we get to more and more close each time we put this event on. I love you. And that's it, folks. Thank you. That's it, folks. I love each and every one of you. You know what? Really quick, before I say that, I want to also thank everyone that's come before me in our community. We are a strong people. We are a brilliant people, and I really want us to go forth and just hold that and wear that. We have a badge and we have protection around us, and because of that, we need to continue to create and just make our ancestors proud, make our angels proud, and it's up to us to do that, and we can do that. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for attending. Please remember that we are in this together. A community is only as strong as the people that step up and hold each other accountable for greatness. We are on a destination to touch, move, and inspire the next generation of Black creatives, no matter the age, to dip into their greatness. Watch out for new 2021 dates because we are coming for everything they said we couldn't have. Until then, go out and create and heal for yourselves, for your community, and for the world. I love y'all. Have a good day. Bye. I want to finish up by, actually, you know what? I want to finish up by sending our sponsors some love. Please, thank you again, Visa.
Local businesses are the heart and soul of our communities. They give thanks. They make a difference. They go the extra mile. They've always been there for us. It's time for us to return the favor because where you shop matters. Visa, everywhere you want to be.
All right, everyone. Till next time, I will see you guys later. Take care.